Welcome to a legendary special called Feasts During the Reign of Henry VIII. In this episode, we will talk about how Tudor aristocrats threw a banquet for their family and friends. Tudor England saw an explosion of world trade, along with the expansion of older industries like tin and coal. That meant the rich became richer and the poor did not, though they did find plenty of jobs as servants in the hundreds of manor houses built across the kingdom. There, the moneyed class could enjoy fresh air, hunting trails, and of course, lavish feasts. Dukes, barons, and even powerful merchants threw lavish feasts as a means to display their wealth and power to their peers. King Henry VIII enjoyed banquets so much that he extended the kitchen of Hampton Court to fill 55 rooms. The 200 members of the kitchen staff made meals of up to 14 courses for the 600 members of the royal court. In a typical year, Henry's kitchen served more than 1,200 oxen, 8,200 sheep, 2,300 deer, 760 calves, 1,900 pigs, and 53 wild boar. That totals to more than 14,000 beasts a year, meaning that each member of the court ate 23 big animals every year. Henry's court washed this meat down with huge quantities of wine and ale. Every year, Hampton Court drank 600,000 gallons of ale, enough to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and 75,000 gallons of wine, enough to fill 1,500 bathtubs. Of course, the burden of all this cooking fell on the kitchen maids. Royals and nobles often employed women, but kept them hidden away in the scullery to avoid advertising the unseemly fact that they hired women. Such women occupied the bottom rung in the servants' hierarchy, sleeping on straw mattresses and eating peas porridge. Above them came the household staff, men entitled to wear the lord's livery. They even got bacon and eggs to eat. At the very top came attendants and valets who attended to the lord and lady personally, and a household steward who managed all the other servants. Such houses provided people with one of their few chances to rise up in Tudor England. A stable groom might aspire to become a butler or steward, while the potboy might hope to become chief cook one day. In the culture of deference in Tudor England, servants bowed whenever they entered the main hall, which included the lord's high table. Even if the lord did not sit there, they still bowed before the high table, which often had the family's coat of arms hung up behind it. When the lord or lady decided to hold a feast for 20 or 30 guests, everyone went to work for weeks on end, except of course the lord and lady. The centerpiece of any feast would be the boar's head. Only nobles could afford the horse and boar spear needed to bring down these beasts, which could weigh up to 400 pounds. The kitchen maids then cut off the beast's head and defleshed it with a great knife, removing skin from skull. After burning off the thick and coarse hair, they covered it with ink to restore its natural color and stuffed the empty head with sausage. Of course, before doing that, they had to sew the nostrils shut, otherwise sausage would come out of the boar's nostrils like sausage snot. Any mistake in sewing or cutting the boar's head might damage the centerpiece, thus ruining the feast and some unfortunate kitchen maid's career. The rest of the meat would be spit roasted. This really showed off your wealth, since only the rich could afford fresh meat year-round, and only the very rich could afford to roast it. Since this not only required extra wood, it also required paying a spit boy to turn the spit all day. Servants also made dishes called the Cockatrice. This involved creating a medieval fancy by cutting a pig in half and then sewing half half a swan or goose onto the other end, creating a half-pig, half-bird creature. Great care had to be taken while roasting the cockatrice, otherwise the stitches would break over open flame. Other goodies included whale meat, plentiful thanks to whaling in the North Sea, grilled beaver tails, and roasted swan. Foodstuffs brought to England by fast-growing world trade appeared, like Asian spices and citruses from the Mediterranean. At the end of the meal, many guests ate marzipan, a paste made from ground almond sugar and egg whites. Afterwards, they flavored it with cinnamon and pepper. Yet the greatest luxury of all came for the Lord and his special guests. They dined upon sugar moldings. Kitchen maids ground up sugar cones, then shaped them into fried eggs or slabs of bacon and dyed them appropriately. Liveried servants delivered each dish, sometimes 100 or more, to the Lord's guests. Tables were arranged in a U shape with the Lord's family and his favored guests at the head and the rest sitting further away. Servants bowed 3 times before presenting each dish. At the very end of the feast, the servants received a few bonuses. Kitchen maids received leftover custard pies and a scented beeswax candle, goodies that commoners would rarely see otherwise. The liveried men enjoyed the privilege of resting by the fire while they ate the Lord's leftovers, and the household steward thanked them by bowing to them. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.